Welcome along. So it's all happening. I was for much of the last 45 minutes gearing up to tell you that Spain were comfortably through to the quarterfinals, and suddenly two Croatian goals in 7 minutes in Copenhagen, and it finished 3-3 at full time. Extra time is now underway. We're 4 minutes into extra time. We'll have Pat Nevin with us after 9 o'clock in the football show. France-Switzerland, of course, kicks off at 8, and it's the eve of Germany-England as well. So broadcaster Jackie Oatley joins us on the football show. Then, of course, the Lions. A lot going on when it comes to the Lions over the last 48 hours. Alan Wynne-Jones out of the tour. The captain is gone, and long live the king and all that, because suddenly Conor Murray is in as Lions captain. Positive COVID test, meanwhile, in the South African camp as the country at large braces for a very severe third wave. What will it mean for the tour? Jerry Thornley and Gordon Darcy with us after 8 o'clock. That's not to mention the GAA as well. Over the weekend there were mismatches aplenty in the football, with a couple of notable exceptions. Shout out to Offaly, for instance, but Paddy Andrews is on the way to talk about the weekend that was. And Clare dished out a 4-point hammer into Waterford, 22 wides. Shane McGrath with us as well. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. We have Richie McCormack, hello.
Howdy, Joe.
And Nathan Murphy, hello to you.
Evening, lads.
Bloody hell, this was interesting. I mean, I kind of thought, okay, I'm done here. I have 20 minutes. I'll grab 20 minutes just to get my head around a few other pieces for the show. And then came one goal, and I glanced up and thought, yeah, okay. I'm kind of happy for them, you know. Age has stripped them of their finest attributes. Mandzukic retired. Perisic with COVID. Little Luca in there, Nathan, age 35, with his hands tied behind his back, trying to do something. I was glad they nicked one back. But I said, that's all that is. And then, well, what a third goal, by the way. A brilliant equaliser. And now it's anyone's game. Croatia 3, Spain 3, 6 minutes into extra time. Football bloody hell, I think, is the saying.
This is the magic of big tournament football, where it's a quiet Monday night, it's 6:30, you've just had the dinner, and next thing you're falling off the couch roaring at Croatia to go and take their chance. Who knew I cared so much for Croatian football? But I'm like you, I'm addicted to watching Luka Modric and everything he does when he's on the pitch, and just watching him as he was biding his time to come forward for his role in that second goal, where I was hoping he'd just dink it over the keeper, drills it across, most almighty goal-mouth scramble, they get one back, and then the quality. It wasn't just Route 1 football for those final 5 minutes. The quality of the cross, as they have another chance, quality of the cross for the equaliser was just exceptional. And this tournament has been so entertaining from start to finish. You look forward to all these big events, but international football at times, as we've spoken about a lot pre-tournament, can be slower, a bit more mundane than club football, it feels, in recent times. But this has just been hell for leather right from day one, and this may be the best match, excitement-wise, we've seen so far.
Could Mayo man like you not have the dinner around 2, no?
Jesus, what is this, 1925, Joe? Do people still have the dinner? Does anyone under the age of 60 have the dinner around 2?
Oh, I bet you they do. I'd put good money on it. I'd say there's probably one or two heads out in that office probably do as well, for certain. And then the call would be somebody who'd have his dinner in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. And always soup beforehand.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, good Irish tradition, Nathan. Come on. So, well, this is interesting. I mean, Croatia, bit of life back in them. They looked tired, dejected, as you can imagine, when they were 3-1 down. Even the third goal was a slightly odd affair, where there was some kind of injury and there was a bit of a water break, as happens around these things. And the game just seemed to start very quickly. Garvajal, the left back for Croatia, was in the centre circle, like tossing a big thing of water back towards the sideline. And there's a quick free kick over his head, and Ferran Torres is in and seems to score the easiest goal you would ever score in a round of 16 match of this level. And it just seemed like a weird kind of goal to concede, where everybody wasn't quite ready. But
well, the easiest goal at this level, aside from
oh my God,
Croatia's first goal, the most comical, calamitous own goal that has ever been seen at a European Championship. Yeah. Pedri, 40 yards out, rolls it back to his goalkeeper Simon, and it just rolls under his foot, can't control it, straight into the back of the net. Immediately overtakes Ronnie Whelan for Liverpool against Manchester United 30 years ago as the greatest own goal of all time.
It was amazing looking at all the replays of the various angles, and basically every player to a man, except for maybe like Azpilicueta, who was running back into position to take the ball off Simon. Every other player kind of turned away. You know, they're all scanning. That's what players are doing here. They know the ball's gone back. Right, where are we? And suddenly they all look. They hear a scream, and you can see them all look to see it, Simon, who can't quite believe what's happened. Yeah, it was just one of those bizarre moments. I totally agree with you in the tournament. I mean, France-Switzerland this evening, I hadn't given much thought to France-Switzerland. I just chalked that up as I'll be on air, so I hope it's not a good game. And also, France will probably win.
Yeah, I would expect France will win, though they do have quite a few injuries. I see they've changed their shape as well. They're going with 3 at the back with Varane, Longley and Kimpembe.
Right.
Because they've no left back fit. Hernandez and Digne are both injured. So Rabiot's going to play, it seems, as maybe a left wing back with Pavard as a right wing back.
What a goal! What a goal! Oh, Spain. Oh, it's Morata. I'm delighted for him. What a goal. Oh, this is so good. Crossing to the box. I want to see a replay. Luis Enrique's just puffed out his cheeks as if to say, even I didn't think Morata was going to do that. He takes a great touch, it looks like, and ball bounces left foot, volley into the roof of the net from maybe 10, 15 yards out at an angle inside the box. We'll get a replay here. So it's over on the right-hand side, and Morata's at the back post. Defender gets sucked in. It's a great touch with his right foot onto his left foot, and it's a brilliant finish. It's a brilliant finish. This is a player whose wife and children turned up to the Spanish game in Seville, I think, with Morata jerseys on the back and were abused. I don't even know if the fans knew they were his partner and his kids, just abused for having the temerity to have a Morata jersey on their backs, such as his stock at the moment in Spanish football. So, well, I think there's a few people might want to say sorry there to Alvaro.
He's the type of player you want to do well, but he just can't help himself. It's 4 or 5 opportunities in every game before he finally gets a goal. But that was brilliantly controlled, first off, and then on the half volley, left boot, slicing it into the top corner. Luis Enrique, dressed like a man who would eat his dinner at lunchtime, dressed like a man straight out of 1992, even before Britpop and all that. White shirt, jeans from Eddie Murphy Menswear.
Yeah, no belt.
No belt. Yeah.
Oh, I'm delighted for him. That's nice. Because I saw, who was it? I think it was Gary Neville. Oh, he does have a belt, actually. Sorry, just to make that important correction. I think it was Gary Neville saying that he's, Morata seems like a sensitive sort, Richie, and it takes all kinds. Lots of very sensitive people out there, and you're getting lots of abuse. And as a striker in particular, I think that weighs on you in a big way. And I suspect he was having a rather difficult time. So wow, what a moment for him.
Yeah, and you saw it as well towards the end. Was it towards the end? It was before the Spanish third goal, definitely. Anyway, whereby he was basically hatching, as we used to say on our road back in the day, where he was waiting for a ball to break and was essentially hanging out by the post. It was about 6 yards offside, but was doing anything he could to try and touch a ball home from 6 inches, from 60 yards, from anywhere. He just wants that goal. He just wants that monkey off his back. He has been playing with the weight of the world on his shoulders. And yeah, like you mentioned, players are allowed to be sensitive. Players are allowed to take stuff on their back. You can't expect every player to be one of these cold, callous killers that Roy Keane would like 22 of on every pitch and every day. There are all sorts and takes all sorts to play this game, and I think everybody can be happy that he's gotten a goal like that. I think we probably settled for another 2 or 3 during this extra time, if we're completely honest, because this has been such an enjoyable game pretty much from start to finish. It took a while to settle into its groove, but once that own goal went in, we've had ourselves a ripper.
Well, it's opening up now because they're all wrecked as well, which is helpful. By the way, Belgium last night seemed to be absolutely gassed from pretty much the start of the second half. It was bizarre. They were defending like it was the last. Here's another big chance for Spain. It's another goal for Spain. It's another goal for Spain. Oof. Spain 5-3. Oh.
5-3.
Ooh, game over. I don't think Croatia are coming back from 2 goals down a second time. It's another move down the right-hand side. Ball crossed in, this time low, and it's finished. I'm not sure by who, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Spain going through to the quarterfinal, 5-3 in extra time. I was just going to say last night, Nathan, Belgium looked gassed in that entire second half. They were absolutely wrecked. They were just... like last 10 minutes, everybody was wrecked, but it wasn't a Belgian tactic to go out and defend deep for the whole 45 minutes.
No, they couldn't keep hold of the ball, and even when they got the counter-attacks, they made such a mess of them time and time again, where the right ball would have settled it, they get the second goal. But that is tournament football, isn't it? I wouldn't read a huge amount into it, and I think Belgium can come back on Friday night, even with the injuries to De Bruyne and Hazard, and be fresh and be motivated again. But that game was so ragged, it was so tense, it had such an edge that it felt like it was going to boil over constantly, that it played into Portugal's hands because Belgium just seemed so nervous, had no real control of the game at all. And a different type of game to the one we're watching here, but another brilliant game to watch. I couldn't understand at all the criticism afterwards. Yeah, the first half wasn't what you would have expected quality-wise, but in terms of pure tournament football and drama and excitement, It's exactly what you want.
Yeah, that was good. I thought that was absorbing in its own way, and that's not trying to be trendy and saying I was enjoying the tactics, but I thought it was, finally balanced and tense and all of that kind of stuff. That's okay. So, pause for breath here. Spain 5, Croatia 3. We're in added time. One other point from the weekend. Why did Gareth Bale get so upset in that interview when he was asked about his future, but then like a couple of minutes later on Welsh TV he was answering the question like saying, oh my God, well, I mean, as long as I play football I'll play for Wales. But before that the BBC interviewer brought it up to Bale, he turned away as if he'd been asked a question that you shouldn't be asking me that. Does anyone have a read on what was wrong with Gareth Bale? This aside from the fact he was upset at losing, I'm sure.
Maybe he didn't want to answer it in the first place. I don't know the chronology of the interviews. I would suspect the BBC was probably first.
It was, yeah.
Then the in-house Euro one was after that. So maybe he didn't really want to answer it in the first place, got asked it again and thought, screw this, I'm not talking about this and I'm going to walk away. Quite what he has to hide either way, I'm not quite sure. I know he's got a big summer ahead of him in terms of what he's going to do with his club future. Maybe he didn't want to be asked about his international future on top of all that. But as a player of a certain standing, of a certain age, at the end of an international tournament that may well be his last, I think that question is entitled to be asked.
I think it maybe was the narrative that is around Bale that he might have quit football completely, that his interest levels weren't what they were, that he'd lost his passion, that golf is what he wants to go and do, and even that in his early 30s he might just throw it all in for a nice quiet life. Those sort of rumours have been circulating for quite a while, so maybe he was just a bit peeved at that there were questions about his commitment to the cause. So yeah.
No, I get all that. It was just weird. Literally an interview later he's answering the question happily. I was just wondering if there was any scandal there. I can't even remember the rest of the games. Oh, Italy. That was
crack.
Yeah, that was good crack. Yeah. So do Italy kind of go up in our estimation in that they can freewheel it through the group stages and still win in a traditional Italian way? They can mix it both ways, and I think they kind of do. I still think they're looking pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a big decision to be made there in midfield, because I don't think he was clearly carrying an injury. You can see that, I guess, when he was on the bench afterwards. Marco Verratti didn't do it for me in midfield as much as they depended upon him in the past. Manuel Locatelli obviously seems like the option there going forward, but they do have options off the bench. Fede Chiesa coming off the bench has been superb so far in this tournament. A big future ahead of him for Juventus and possibly elsewhere after that. He's one of these guys who could go and surpass what his dad did, and his dad was a fairly impressive and a fairly expensive striker throughout the 90s. And I think this Italian team have everything. They don't necessarily have one thing in abundance, but they have everything enough that could see them get to the semi-final and possibly to win this tournament. And I still would have a sneaking suspicion that they'll get over the line. Well,
as things stand, we're at that nice stage of the tournament now where you can sort of remember where we are in the various permutations. So if you were to take the odd shortcut for form, you would say in one semi-final there's a very good chance of Denmark against either England or Germany. And then that's with the greatest respect, of course, to the Czechs, who surprised us yesterday, may surprise us again. So you'd say Denmark against England or Germany. And then in the other semi-final, it's going to be Italy or Belgium versus France. So that's how it's lining up, I think, at the moment, Nathan, we can say.
Yeah, I think it was clear last week that Belgium faced a difficult task to get all the way to the final, having had such a grueling game last night.
Yeah.
Even if they go and beat Italy, which you feel is going to be another really tense game, to then have to play France to even get to a final might be too much with the injuries to Hazard and De Bruyne. It's such a shame, because Hazard, I thought, was brilliant last night. He looked back to as good as we've seen Hazard in the last 3 or 4 years. And then little hamstring injury. They're saying he might be all right for a semi-final if they get through. De Bruyne, it was a shocking challenge. The referee last night had an absolute nightmare. He let so much go so early. Palhinha should get booked for the tug in the jersey on Lukaku. Then he doesn't make that stupid challenge on De Bruyne. And then arguably the most technically gifted player in the tournament gets to continue. But the referee, or the assistant referee, one of them, misses it completely. And they get away with it. And that's what happens. I still really like this Belgian side, even if De Bruyne and Hazard miss out. I still think they might have too much. Lukaku, the impact he can have, but whether they can go and beat France as well 2 or 3 days later might just be a step too far.
Yeah, I don't know if De Bruyne subscribes to the once being unfortunate, twice careless theory, but between Rudiger in the Champions League and now Palhinha in some of the bigger games of his career this season, they're being ended with some fairly stern treatment. You do just wonder if players are aware it's De Bruyne they're leaving one on in certain instances, and definitely not going out of their way to not leave one on him. I mean, I think Paulina was generally just like trying to foul him, and it's difficult to try and trap someone's ankle like that. And the Rudiger one was sort of an odd moment as well. But at the same time, you feel like it's touch more than coincidence maybe when it's De Bruyne.
No, I don't think it's coincidence. I think these players, as you mentioned, I don't think the severity of either injury is what the players are setting out to do, but I don't think they're afraid of leaving one on them, as you said there. Yeah. I mean, it happens players in kind of all ages. Like I keep harking back to that Dykes challenge. I think it was on Luke Shaw during the England-Scotland game from the off, whereby you go for the weak elements of the team, or you go for the star element of the team as well at the other end, and you go and try and do what you can to nullify them. And that's what they're doing. You got a midfielder like Paulina who's in there to do just that, to try and nullify whatever Belgium have in midfield. That was Kevin De Bruyne. He did his job last night as far as he's concerned, and Belgium could well struggle, in my opinion anyway, from this point on without him.
I got to get on with the news round. When you're saying there at all levels, you just reminded me, because I read that Sonny Pike book recently. This was the Wunder kid from North London who had his legs insured for like £1 million and stuff, and was destined for great things. And when news broke that he had his legs insured for £1 million, all the parents of the opposition teams, like at under 12 level, would be screaming, break his legs, break his legs. It was just kind of an odd situation. The news round on Off the Ball and News Talk with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette made of what matters. I had been planning to talk to you a little bit at the top about Conor Murray. That's big news, but events in Copenhagen intervened. So 5-3 Spain. Second half of extra time has just started. You would think they are through, and Nathan was mentioning the team news there, Richie, from the French game. So change of formation for them.
Yeah, there is indeed. They've gone through a 3-5-2 out of necessity more than design, because Luca Digne is out and Luca Hernandez has earned a place on the bench, but he's not really fit enough to start. So Hugo Lloris starts in goal for France. The back three then of Raphael Varane, the incoming Clement Longley and Presnel Kimpembe, with Benjamin Pavard and Adrien Rabiot providing the width. In midfield then, as usual, Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante, with Antoine Griezmann and Karim Benzema up front alongside Kylian Mbappe. For the Swiss, and a very similar formation for them tonight, Jan Sommer in goal, a back three of Nico Elvedi, Manuel Akanji and Ricardo Rodriguez, with Sylvain Widmer and Stefan Zuber providing the width. Remo Freuler and Granit Xhaka are in midfield. Jordan Shaqiri sits in behind Haris Seferovic and Briel Embolo, and kick-off in that one in Bucharest at 8 p.m.
Very good. Just going to say Jackie Oatley and Pat Nevin on the football show between 9 and 10. GAA you were mentioning?
Yeah, the GAA's confirmed that 8,000 fans will be allowed to attend this weekend's Leinster hurling semi-finals. The clash of Dublin and Galway has been moved from Portlaoise to Croke Park, and that will form the first part of a double header on Saturday. That'll be followed by the meeting of Wexford and Kilkenny at 4:30. It will be the largest crowd to attend a game in this country since early March of last year. Just to reiterate, 8,000 fans, and the ticket details will be released by the GAA tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a big jump from 200, isn't it? So, as you said, the GAA say ticketing details confirmed tomorrow, and other details. I have no sense if there's any antigen testing, or if, people with vaccines are front of the queue, or if it's just general free-for-all. But 8,000, I mean, it's great, Nathan, and we're moving in the right direction. And then you turn on the news and Delta variant is taking hold. So it's still a very strange situation. But I think a couple of thousand in Croke Park seems about the right direction to be going in.
Well, look on your TV screen right now in Copenhagen, and pretty much a full stadium watching Spain against Croatia. Tomorrow should have been the day where England and Germany were playing at the Aviva Stadium, and we couldn't even guarantee 5,000. We're definitely miles behind the rest of Europe, and I understand completely the concerns around the Delta variant. It is, if these are test events, what is being tested? Because I heard that there were no positive cases out of the initial test events, but that actually doesn't tell you anything, because what you need is some positive cases and then see if it spreads around while people are at those test events. So, 8,000 at Croke Park, they should be able to get in quite straightforward. Like 10% of the attendance. I know they're talking about ramping it up pretty quickly. It does feel, when you look at what's going on in the rest of Europe, and this maybe they'll be proven to cautious is the way to go forward with this, it just feels so slow, and again, without any great long-term planning as to how quick we're going to get past 10%.
I think politically they still feel so burned over the way Christmas went, and that's definitely feeding into some of the decisions now. But yeah, you would think 8,000 should be very manageable at the weekend, so that's good. And like Richie said, details on tickets announced tomorrow. I can imagine there are people aching to get back to Croke Park to watch a game. Wimbledon is up and running. Few big seeds today. Took a tumble.
Yeah, indeed. Before that, Andy Murray is in action at the moment. The long way to return to centre court of Scotland's favourite son. He is set to love up on Nicolas Basilashvili of Georgia. 6-4, Murray took the first, 3-2 and going to serve in the second. But as you mentioned there, Joe, a couple of big seeds falling today. The first of those, the men's third seed, Stefanos Tsitsipas, who lost in straight sets to the world number 57, Francis Tiafoe. Two-time women's champion Petra Kvitova also lost in straight set today to Sloane Stephens. The top seed and defending champion Novak Djokovic needed 4 sets to beat the British wildcard Jack Draper. The Serb was full of praise, though, for his opponent today, who's ranked 253 in the world.
He was playing well. He was fighting. Obviously, for him, a unique occasion, playing for the first time on the Wimbledon centre court. He has done well. Had break chances in the first set to come back into the match, but he came up with some good serves, and I was kind of slipping a few times on those break points and still finding my footing, I would say, on the grass that was quite slippery and quite moist. Whether it was probably because of the roof, but anyway, it was very good performance. I'm pleased with the second, third, and fourth set. The way I've played from back of the court. I started returning better as well in midway second set. So, all in all, I'm satisfied.
Okay, James Ryan then.
Yeah, he is a major doubt for Ireland's first test of this brief summer series against Japan on Saturday. The Leinster lock has an adductor injury, but hasn't been ruled out just yet of contention from that game. Peter O'Mahony is among the contenders to captain Ireland if Ryan is absent. I mentioned at the top of the show the uncertainty surrounding the Lions tour. The Springboks have returned to training today ahead of that British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa. It's after 3 members of their squad tested positive for COVID-19 at the weekend. One of those, Herschel Jantjies, has since been cleared to return to training ahead of their first warm-up test, which comes in Pretoria this coming Friday.
Yeah, so the logistics for the tour, one thing, there's talk of moving the whole thing to Cape Town away from the Gauteng province, which is Johannesburg, and Pretoria, which is the epicentre of this third wave at the moment. And then there's just the, I suppose, general difficulty for the 2 camps. I mean, there was a 3-week South African camp and these 3 tests emerged. Admittedly, one of them was false positive, but they were seemingly adhering to all the protocol, and still COVID found its way in. So I'm sure there's a lot of nervous people around this tour and just waiting for the bad news to come. That's the rugby side of things, and obviously the COVID situation side of things, very serious on the ground. And then there's the Conor Murray side of things, Nathan, who even himself had pretty much admitted, yeah, I was kind of surprised they picked me too, but Murray got the nod.
Yeah, when I saw the press release come in on Saturday night, I had to take a second look, because I presumed it was for the next game or for a warm-up match, and we'll make a decision as the tour goes on, because Conor Murray, for all his experience and brilliance, and arguably been the best scrum-half in the world for several years, has never been in the mix for an Irish captaincy, it seems.
No.
Has never exuded what we would see as the traditional rugby captain, as being that more loud voice, particularly on the lines. But it's what a brilliant achievement for him. Probably shows the doubts that Warren Gatland has around certain members of his squad. And also, it seems a real reluctance to have an English captain of the Lions. I would have thought Maro Itoje was more or less nailed on. He's surely going to play Itoje. And
Farrell, I would have
really
thought, was the big one. Because
Farrell as well, but I know he was voted on that leadership group, but maybe there's doubts as to where Farrell would play. But Itoje was in the running, I thought, initially as a potential captain to start with. But has there been a Lions captain at any level since Martin Johnson?
No.
That's been English, so there's clearly something there.
No. Who was in 01? Would have been Johnson again, I presume. 05 was O'Driscoll, 09 was O'Connell. No, there hasn't been. So, yeah, I would have thought Farrell as well was a very likely candidate, but he came on at 12 at the weekend. Bigger was really good at 10. I presume Murray, being a guaranteed starter, swung that, because Farrell doesn't seem to be a guaranteed starter at 12. We'll talk to Gordon Darcy and Jerry Thornley after 8 o'clock. Tour de France on as well, Richie?
Yeah, Belgium's Tim Merlier won an attritional stage 3 of the Tour de France. It looked pretty straightforward on paper, and he won in a sprint into Pontivy. But last year's runner-up Primož Roglic and 2018 winner Geraint Thomas both suffered bad crashes today, with the latter sustaining a dislocated shoulder. There were also falls on the final sprint for both Peter Sagan and Caleb Ewan. Merlier's teammate Matthew van der Poel retains the overall leader's yellow jersey. And on a similar note, Sam Bennett's team manager has continued his attacks on last year's Tour green jersey winner. Bennett withdrew prior to this year's race, complaining of a knee injury. De Kooning Quickstep boss Pat Lefevre questioned the severity of the injury a fortnight ago. Bennett is rumoured to be returning to Bora Hansgrohe, the team he left for Quickstep in 2019. And Lefevre told Belgium's Nieuwsblad today, I have balls, he doesn't.
Okay. On that note, Richie McCormack, thank you.
Most welcome.
Nathan, cheers for that.
Cheers, Joe.
Nathan Murphy and Richie McCormack there. I should mention before we go to ads, as Spain almost scored 6, still 5-3 in extra time. It was Morata in, it was the keeper who saved it. That on the 9th of July, the Thursday before Euro 2020 final, we'll have a special roadshow coming your way. So Brian Laudrup, Ali McCoy's joining us to talk through their UEFA Euros experiences, and we'll chat about the tournament at large. You can watch it exclusively on our OTB Sports channels on the 9th of July, all in association with Heineken, official beer partner of UEFA Euro 2020. Finally together to be rivals again. Hashtag socialise responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie. We'll take a very short ad break. Like I said, Gordon Darcy, Jerry Thornley on the way after 8 o'clock. We'll talk hurling to Shane McGrath the next hour as well. We have Pat Nevin and Jackie Oatley on the football show. And up next, very hard to say, we're talking GAA football with Paddy Andrews.